Hey everybody, it's Robert Dunt from Art Top 10, and I'm very happy today to be chatting with Alexander Hinks. Alex, hello.
Good to see you again. So slightly different this time, but
Well, indeed. We were in real life the last time we spoke to each other. Now we're in sort of virtual real life. But how you been? How you been doing in the crazy lockdown?
yeah, I've sort of been keeping busy. It's
Yeah,
been quite nice to have some extra time.
yeah.
Yeah, I've also still got to do some work, sort of to earn some money, but also
Yeah.
sort of concentrate on the practice too. Yeah, I can't complain too much.
Oh, good,
How's
good.
your lockdown been?
Oh, yeah, not too bad. I've been doing all these crazy interviews with people,
Definitely busy.
which has been quite fun. Not what I was planning to do, but it's turned out, yeah, it's a bit of entertainment. So yeah, Alex, this is that one of your paintings behind you?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so it's quite an older piece called sort of Distorted Structure,
Distorted
and
structure.
yeah, so I guess sort of structure's always been quite an important element in my work.
Yeah.
Uh, it actually sort of dates back to sort of after I left Wimbledon School of Art, and so I got my parents to adopt one of my friends from Wimbledon, and
Okay,
then we painted away for a few years.
nice one,
And this
nice
piece
one.
it probably took me about 6 months to finish, and sort of just
Seriously.
constantly reworking it and sort of building up layers and intertwining it.
So would you say that was one of the first pieces you made that really kind of defined your style?
So I think this was a development for my degree show, and so the degree show sort of was again sort of I don't know in line with what I'm doing at the minute. The piece behind me, so yeah, it's definitely sort of quite a bit more intense than I'd usually do, sort of because it had so much sort of weaving into that, and also back then sort of I would set a sort of grid structure that I'd work off.
Okay,
Uh, Sort of nowadays it's a lot more fluid with sort of the backgrounds of the pieces, and then I sort of worry about sort of drawing structure into it afterwards. When
okay.
here was just a constant battle between all the different elements.
It's really interesting, actually. Would you do you think you'd be able to sum up what your work is sort of like in a sentence or so? Bit of a tricky one.
I guess I've previously sort of described it as sort of the relationship between sort of nature and technology, and
Okay.
and also pushing towards concepts of the sublime, and so there's an awful lot of contrast. And so yeah, the idea is having sort of I love sort of paint as a medium, being very sort of fluid and
Yeah.
sort of marbling, but then also finding a way to sort of set a hard edge structure against that, and sort of have this push and pull between background foregrounds, and yeah, also they sort of make it so sort of the viewer sort of has to really sort of pick the piece pick the piece
Yeah.
to pieces to try and work out how it was made, and so it has sort of like an element as if it wasn't touched by the human hands.
Oh yeah. It is very much like that because I always look at them and think, how did you make them? How did you make that? And the other thing, I always think that element of the sublime gets me. I always got a feeling it's like you're flying through space in some weird vortex, and these things are taking place.
Yeah, it's
Um,
amazing that you can achieve that just with some liquefied paint
yeah,
and sort of,
I was actually thinking of trying to find a copy of Milton. This sounds really stupid and pretentious, and reading out a bit from Paradise Lost about Satan appearing, which I may do if I
yeah.
can find it or add it on at the end or something weird. But anyway, I think the best way to really get a sense of your the best way to get a sense of your work is, should we have a look at that exhibition of yours, your solo one, Drawn to Another World?
So I've got a few images here.
Nice. I think it's one of the last
I've got to share
exhibitions.
my screen.
It's one of the last ones I saw in real life before lockdown.
I know, yeah, no, it's an interesting timing. Sort of the show ended up going on for sort of 6, 7 months, and it was only meant to be on for 3 weeks.
That's a bonus. I like it.
Yeah.
One of those lockdown lucky bits. Oh, here we go. Cool, nice one. Tell me a bit about this show. It was fantastic.
Yeah, so it's my sort of first solo exhibition at the Cello Factory, and no, I built up to it over sort of 4 year, 5 year periods.
Wow.
And I really pushed myself with some of the installations, but then also I opened just before lockdown.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it could have been better timing. It was lovely how sort of so many people still made it to the private view. So
Yeah,
there
that's cool.
were some older sort of artists that were a little nervous, and so they turned up at the start of the evening. But then I was still really quite taken back with the amount of people that still came.
That's really cool.
Yeah, within a week or so, sort of, we all knew that we were entering lockdown, and
Yeah.
so at that point I thought it was bad timing. But then the show sort of ended up going on until sort of the August, and so I had actually had the opportunity to reopen it again sort of throughout July.
That's really cool, actually. Really cool.
I spent my sort of time invigilating by sort of sitting out the front sunbathing.
Really?
Yeah,
That's quite cool.
I had to social distance, and so sort of it's best for me to be out in the open air.
Yeah.
But it also gave me the opportunity to sort of capture the attention of any passers-by and sort of,
and drag them in. Quick, come in.
quite a few people sort of came who had heard of the show, but then obviously I did drag in the odd character too. Sort of,
yeah. Nice.
I still see them around the area.
Yeah. So go on, tell me. One of the things that I thought was fun was these crazy sort of like vortex things to the sky with the string going up in the air and the lights at the bottom. What made you come up with those?
So that piece is called Earth to Unknown, and sort of originally sort of that came about from a sort of a car park exhibition for Chinese New Year. But sort of for that piece, sort of it was only a one-day show, and it sort of that took me sort of 8 hours to install just sort of 3 of them. But then also it was very atmospheric in a dark car park.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to revisit that piece, but I didn't really quite know what I was getting myself into. So the car park ceiling was only about 2 meters high, when the Cello Factory were going on 5 meters.
How did you get to the top of the Cello Factory? Just on a massive.
There are some sort of scaffolding poles, and then I needed extra points to connect. So I sort of got a load of black ratchet straps and sort of had them zigzagging across the gallery ceiling.
Oh man!
And then I sort of found out sort of the rough length of rope I'd need, and sort of cut, I don't know, 1,000 meters or several thousand meters worth of rope, and tied it all to the ceiling first. So
that's so cool.
Tried to minimise time up the ladder.
So literally, did you like go on Amazon and order several thousand meters of rope?
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's the sort of thing only artists do, isn't it?
I hate supporting Amazon, but it's very useful at the end of the tax year to sort of have all your orders there.
Yeah, it is. Man, that's so cool. Yeah, I really enjoy them. They're exciting. I like those, and they gave a good sort of because they've got that sort of shooting upwards experience. They had a nice sort of sort of they've built into the vortexy feeling of the paintings as well. It's especially the one on the back wall that's on the right here, where it exploded out of the painting. Do you want to talk about how you came up with that idea to have stuff exploding?
That came about from sort of the amalgamation exhibition at the Cello Factory, and so. No, I guess with my paintings, they've always been wanting to leave the canvas with the expansive structure, but I needed sort of that eureka moment to sort of come up with the idea of actually having them physically leave the canvas. And it's a really successful sort of, and it was nice how sort of that piece tied in with the sort of the rope string piece, and they both have very organic colours, but then also with the taut rope and hard structure, sort of conceptually all tied in quite nicely.
No, it ties in really well. So when you made that big painting that's on the right of the image here, the big one with the bits exploding out of it, were you planning when you started it that things would explode out of it, or was it?
Yes, so that's a more recent piece, and so I chose a size of canvas that would allow me to then sort of take up the rest of the wall with this structure. But obviously, while creating the piece, I didn't know how sort of, as I'm a process painter, sort of one step leads to the other, and sort of I have to see I have no idea what the end result will be. But then at sort of each stage, I make a decision which sort of leads on to completing the piece.
So what would you say a process painter is?
I'd say sort of you could having sort of set rules of how to create a piece. I find personally for myself, sort of I know I react to sort of, I have a sort of a process, but then sort of each piece is unique because I react differently at the end of each stage.
Intriguing.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting way of working. Sort of,
Yeah.
but I do find I constantly have to sort of tweak it and sort of can't be painting the same thing over and over. So
Yeah, no,
but then
exactly.
it's a nice, exciting evolution of sort of the pieces over the years. So
no, I think it's really cool. It's really cool. And so what was the first piece you made that inspired you into doing these? Was it literally just those shapes coming to the edge, and you suddenly thought, why didn't I take them out into the
exactly. Yeah. Sort of, well, I've only actually done 2 of them so far, but sort of later on in the interview, I'll discuss sort of future projects for my next plan, but I'll save that to the end.
Okay, yeah. And so in the bottom left-hand corner, that was a kind of crazy video thing you.
Yeah, so that sort of came about from my virtual reality collaboration with Ollie Lane. And it was quite interesting for this show to project it, but also to sort of tie in with sort of the other installations, with the bamboo and natural elements set against this sort of technological projection. And so it was quite nice how sort of the bamboo then created shadows, which sort of added even more elements to the piece. And also the projection was moving too, so you sort of had something very static against this sort of swirling mass of colour.
It's quite interesting actually, because now I look at it, like the rope that shoots up in the air, that's almost like something that's come out of the paintings, and the bamboo's almost like something that's come out of the paintings. It's quite a lot like the paintings are, in a sort of hallucinatory fashion, emerging out of the floor or the ground or the wall. It's like the boundaries between the two have broken down entirely.
Yeah, no, it's definitely sort of. I'd like to sort of be as they all sort of tie in some point.
Yeah.
The idea of sort of expanding the concept of painting, sort of. And I don't know, I find it sort of quite interesting, sort of actually on sort of Instagram, sort of one of the hashtags I've started using is expanded painting.
Oh, really?
And seeing how people sort of challenge sort of the concepts of painting and sort of. I just literally came across that hashtag because my paintings were literally expanding. But then you can also see a concept behind it too. So.
I really like it. I think expanded painting it's a really cool phrase. It should be the new the 2020 2021 painting thing.
Yeah, definitely.
I like it.
So, should I show you sort of some of the online exhibitions I sort of created?
I've just got one mad question I fancied asking first, which is if they were a kind of music, what sound do you think they'd make?
Well, I have to admit that I do like sort of most of my music has a bass to it.
Okay.
And so whether that be from sort of funk, soul through to sort of breakbeat or drum and bass or hip hop.
Okay.
I guess I see a rhythm, a bass to it too, sort of. But then also sort of there's that natural feel, sort of. I also could imagine sort of it mixed against some classical music or so.
Yeah. That's quite interesting. So you visually see a kind of bass.
Maybe sort of subconsciously, sort of when I'm painting away, sort of listening to music, that sort of definitely sort of influences me.
That's really interesting. Really interesting actually, because obviously my stuff's influenced by music. It's fascinating to think what's. All right.
Sure, so the next slide I can show you.
Sorry. Yeah, go to the online exhibition.
Oh no, we'll leave that. I'll do just quickly show you sort of another inspiration and sort of how I got lockdown. So here we have sort of the start of lockdown. I ended up sort of turning sort of every sort of spare space in my studio. I put sort of polythene down. I then turned my bedroom into a studio too, and also another spare room in my flat. So literally had sort of like 16 pieces on the go at once.
So how many pieces did you make over that period?
Sort of definitely over 20. Sort
really?
of, there's a few that are still work in progress, and sort of, and then also sort of my studio's at the end of my garden, so that was a real blessing over lockdown to sort of not have to venture out and to sort of have it all there.
Yeah.
But also you have to just literally have a garden and sort of again sort of like the music, so I've don't know whether that inspires sort of my painting, sort of literally.
Yeah.
It's definitely a creative element that's really, really important to me. And I know with my positioning of the garden and sort of choice of plants, sort of I do see it as sort of
Inspiration.
trying to sort of, create another piece of work. Sort of with,
So do you spend a lot of time in the garden?
Oh yeah, an awful lot. Sort of a few weeks ago, I planted 260 tulips, and
Insane, man.
Yeah, quite a display sort of in this room.
That is wild. That's quite intriguing. So it reminds me a bit of buying all the rope. It's a similar kind of crazy extreme sort of installation.
Definitely, yeah. So there's not much space on my patio now with all the plant pots, and sort of I've also got sort of a tropical feel. So there's a banana tree at the back.
Really?
There's a palm tree that when I bought it was probably only as high as my knees, and now it's sort of 3.5 meters and sort of towers over.
Cool. That's so cool. So were you literally just painting all the time in the different rooms?
So I was sort of painting as much as I can, but then I guess, which leads on to the next slide, is that I then sort of got talked into creating a few online exhibitions.
Yeah. I remember.
That's quite a lot of work, but it's also, it's good to keep myself busy.
Yeah. Go on then. Let's see the online exhibition. It sounds cool.
So the first one that I created was with Alexandra Barista.
Okay.
And so she came up with the idea of having this show called Acid.
Yeah.
That Acid stood for sort of Artist Community Internationally Dissolved.
Okay.
And then so she had the idea, but I had maybe the knowledge, and so we ended up working on this to make an online show. And we both selected some artists which we thought were very in keeping with the idea. Joe Packer and Judith Tucker.
Yeah.
And then also Sam Zeeley and Anne Grimm and Alexandra herself also exhibited.
Nice.
So that's in the top left corner, and
yeah.
Advertising the show, I always make so many different flyers, so I can try and push it and get as many people interested as possible.
That's cool. And so what was the sort of impetus, the theory behind it? Artist community internationally dissolved, like a sort of...
Yeah, I guess the idea was that the COVID had completely broken down the art world, and
okay.
And then this was the first online show I'd ever done. But it then got me thinking that I could push on and then create another online show. And back in 2008, I created Defining Structure at the Cello Factory.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then it dawned on me that it would be ideal to make a redefining structure.
I thought that was a really cool idea. You should explain that idea, because I thought it was quite clever.
Yeah, so defining structure was looking at the different structures of the world and how each artist could represent it, and there's some amazingly varied pieces. So we can have a look at the actual online show in a moment. So I got the factory to put it live again.
Cool.
But yeah, so this was quite a feat, this project, because there was 20 odd artists, and I had to get all of them to send me statements, and then I had to edit
19 million photos,
30 images or so, and but no, it was worth it in the end. But involved an awful lot of emails and time on Photoshop.
Yeah, I thought it was a really clever idea, because you essentially took that original exhibition and then turned it on its head. Because the weird thing is, you'd never really do that in a real space. So it was the virtual space opened up that idea to redefine the defining structure exhibition, as it were.
Yeah, no, it was great too how people then reacted to it, and so quite a few people sent me statements of how their lockdown has actually played out, and the work that they've made throughout lockdown. It became quite a personal exhibition.
Should we have a look at it?
Here we have Redefining Structure on the Cello Factory website. There was some amazing images from the exhibition, which I then got to reuse in the online show, which I used to tie it together between different artists and also advertise the actual exhibition. one of my favourite sort of images. And so you have Fiona Grady's window installation, which would move across the gallery throughout the day. And in this image, it's on sort of Vicky Fornellis's 50-metre long C-type print of female boxers. And then sort of the sides of the image, you have Rita Poniski's X-Ray Vision series, sort of woven pieces. And yeah, sort of throughout the exhibition, so it was, it was wonderful seeing all the different angles and sort of the relationships between all the different works. So yeah, no, we did sort of a creators video and also some artist videos too. And
we did a lot for that.
Yeah.
And
so on my show, I managed to link all those in sort of where I could, and
that's really cool.
So, you know, I definitely know how to make a Squarespace website now.
So then go on, show me some of like the redefining bits of it.
So here's the first profile, and so you have sort of Sam Zeeley, and I think sort of the first paragraph discusses his work in the original show,
which was
and
then
these later paragraphs sort of talk about sort of how sort of, I know, he's foreseen sort of the last few months, and he's quite a political character, so sort of he talks a lot about environmental issues and new technologies. And then sort of below his defining structure piece, he then has other recent works.
Interesting.
And so you can click onto these pieces. So here you have sort of a Jenga sort of sculpture, which was commissioned for sort of by a council just north of London.
Oh, right. That's
and
cool.
It's actually sort of in the moment of falling over.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And so you can flip through sort of pieces.
Yeah, let's go.
Ron Boulevard's.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, that's quite interesting.
Very playful with Tweety Bird, and obviously sort of Malevich is a big inspiration to him.
And so these were essentially things people had made since the exhibition, wasn't it?
Majority sort of like some of the works are older, sort of it's hard to get everyone to completely toe the lines.
Yeah, they're artists, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're not controllable.
No, so they've got Etienne de Villas's Adam and Adams or a piece, and then you can see how his recent pieces are completely different to
that's
that
quite
work.
Interesting. He'd gone more sort of abstract, hadn't he? Taken out as there's a little bit of sort of human figure in there, but other than that, quite intriguing. Much more abstract than the
he's got his
whatever abstract is. But,
Revolution X there, sort of symbol.
Intriguing.
And Penn's, Dalton's, or I know it was amazing, sort of the text that she sent me. So she went through her life and sort of talked about sort of how she used to be sort of for fighting for women's liberties, and got into sort of printmaking and how they're sort of in the V&A collection, and sort of, talked about in recent years how she got back into painting and sort of put her sort of politics and criticisms aside, and I think we all go full circle at some point. So.
Yeah. And then her more recent ones, they're quite different again as well.
These are a bit bas relief. You can sort of see.
So she's got quite flat things with big hunks of paint on top.
Yeah.
Intriguing. Oh, but there's almost a sense of 3D in the stuff in the background as well. Oh, quite weird.
Oh yeah, with here, she's really reworked this, and so you got that sort of imagined shadow. So.
Oh yeah, she's put the imagined shadow onto the bit. Oh, they're quite intriguing actually.
Yeah.
Oh, and then is the man himself?
And then got me. And then sort of. So here you got a few pieces from the Drawn to the Another World exhibition. Like quite a small piece that sort of I would have made over lockdown.
Yeah, I like that because what I love about your things is you've got that mad fluid flowing thing going on. Then you've got those, the diamonds or the pyramid sort of structures coming on top of it.
Yeah, then it's just adds that contrast, but then sort of with the weaving, they all sort of tie in together.
Because they weave more and more. I love that because you've almost managed to work out like a sort of trade secret production process to.
Well, sort of. I've got to sort of keep on developing it, sort of keep myself on my toes too. So.
Oh, it's cool. It's really cool.
And so here's an image of the actual sort of people enjoying the virtual reality piece.
Yeah, I felt really sick when I did that.
it was quite funny sort of photographing people when they had the headset on. They had no idea that they've got pictures of them sort of smiling and screaming.
Because it was like being in one of your paintings, and it felt very vertiginous and sort of.
Yeah, but it was an amazing collaboration. Sort of, took an awful lot of emails and discussions to get there.
No,
but
no, it was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Well, I sort of enjoyed it. I found it absolutely terrifying, honestly.
But, I didn't take any pictures of you screaming though. So.
There were too many of them.
And then we've got Juliet Losk here, who I'm sort of co-creating an exhibition with next year.
Yeah.
We'll get on to that at the end of the interview. Sort of,
nice.
Henry Terrell and his sort of mind maps.
Intriguing.
And sort of Andrea V. Wright, who did that sort of wonderful tape installation between sort of the ground floor and the mezzanine. And so here her recent works. There's sort of lots of mini sculptures.
Oh, that's quite interesting. That's quite a freaky one, actually. They're really cool.
Yeah, no, brilliant. So,
I like that. I like the sort of papery, sort of strange feeling of it.
Yeah. And then sort of Rita, who sort of had her sort of X-ray vision, and sort of, I quite liked these sort of sketches that she'd done over lockdown.
Oh,
so
they're cool.
I guess it's sort of a printmaking method. There's sort of some wonderful sort of patterns and textures have come from it.
That's really weird. How did she do that? That's just pencil on paper.
I think it's probably rubbings, maybe.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, it is. Yeah. But it's got a weird 3D sense to it, hasn't it? Actually, it relates a bit to your stuff, maybe. It's got a weird.
Yeah. Well, I can see. I think she's sort of maybe more of a sculptor than sort of a painter.
Oh, I see what you mean. Intriguing.
I'm definitely a painter pretending to be a sculptor. Also. Then we have Fiona Grady's, and she does all these wonderful window installations.
Yeah, they're cool.
So, this one here is from France, and so lots of people have got to go over there to create this sort of window installation.
That's really cool.
And,
that's really cool. I like the last one in the sort of disused.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's quite freaky, especially it's nice the reflection on the floor. Sorry, of that.
Yeah. I think it was sort of all of her installations. It's definitely sort of when the sun passes by, sort of makes a completely different piece. So.
That's really effective, actually. That's really cool. Oh yeah, and it looked really good from up there, didn't it?
Yeah, wonderful. So I did find that sort of the best moment for photographing the show was before it opened. So not many people of the public got to see it sort of in its elements. But
it did work really well.
So Jane Harris, who sort of
I remember.
Stunning pieces. I think she has a show in Paris at the minute.
Okay, interesting. I remember they're quite small, but very, very controlled in the production, aren't they?
You can see sort of every single brushstroke. Sort of, I don't know if you're around here, you see sort of how the flowing elements around these sort of shapes.
Interesting.
So every single brushstroke is very clearly defined.
Oh, that's quite interesting. That one's a bit more rougher in a good way. Yeah,
but you can see that sort of her recent work. She's got a lot more sort of primary with her colours.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually.
And so we have Benjamin Deacon, wonderful sort of landscapes.
He's got a bit more in some of those, like the far left one. He's got the new ones. It's a bit more sort of pattern taking place. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think even the one in the middle, we say, is that pillow painted or is that a real pillow?
That's quite freaky, actually, isn't it?
I think it's painted,
but it might. Yeah, that's quite intriguing. It looks like it comes from a real pillow that's got that photo on it.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. You've got a nice sense of space sort of created inside it.
They are sort of wonderful how he does have these sort of structures that sort of blend into the landscapes.
Yeah, they're quite intriguing. Sort of unreal places.
You?
Oh, and there's somebody else down there. I'd been deciding to try and do different ways because the black and white shapes are what I call my distortion forms, and I was having a go at using stripes instead of the black and white shapes. So like in the far left one, I was still trying to create sort of chaos, but chaos with stripes instead of chaos with the black and white forms.
Yeah, you can see sort of how your dribbles of paint, they're still sort of vertical and horizontal.
Yeah.
Sort of cross-section grids, so it's trying to sort of break away from it all. So.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? You do.
I like how you the red lines blend into the dribbles on this or the surface below. You've used the same colour.
That's interesting, actually. Oh, and I was messing around with iPads at the time as well, because that just gave you different perspectives on things. Yeah, and that was a more normal one with the distortion forms.
I remember when David Hockney had his sort of show at the Royal Academy, and sort of he'd done it all on iPads. And then on the day that they were doing marketing day, to look at all the things that they could sell alongside the shows, all the merchandise. Some lady from marketing put a folder on top of his iPad, and he got extremely worried that it had been lost. And so.
Did he have a sort of mental meltdown?
A little bit, yeah. So, but we had a wheelchair on hand just in case.
Because I suppose he could have lost all the bits of work, you know.
Oh, completely, yes.
Unless you'd have hoped they'd be backed up to iCloud or something. But oh yeah, that's when I was trying to do these more glossy backgrounds, and this was something I just did with our Posca paint pens. Have you ever used them? The last one.
I haven't, no. So it looks very matte.
They're really good fun. They're really good fun, the Posca paint pens, because they're like felt tips, but you can paint back over the top of them, so you can. Gives you a freaky.
So you don't have to get them wet at all. We just sort of use them straight as.
Yeah, just use them straight, and then. But yeah, they're really good fun actually. Really, really good fun. Right, who else?
Next up, we've got Luke Dowd, who he had his breakfast, lunch, dinner, lunch piece in the original show, and then he showed some sort of illustrations that he'd done in a book.
Oh, that's quite interesting. That's so different.
Yeah, a beautiful sort of piece. So
really
I think someone commissioned him to do these illustrations for this cruising utopia.
Really nice pictures.
So all these koi carp.
Look at that. He's painted them really nicely.
They're stunning.
Really good. Intriguing. Just maintained the single sort of colour for each one.
Yeah. Very
intriguing.
Lovely works tonally. So.
They really are. And
we've got Christine Augustine, who has these the amazing Rothko light boxes.
Yeah, those weird things. Oh, that's quite cool. Yeah. I like the ones at the bottom are quite interesting. Actually, they got almost more earth color sort of light boxes.
I'm sure that so it's just they all completely have such a variety of colors that so you could get so many different pictures out of just one cycle.
Yeah. It's quite interesting actually, because the light boxes normally have much more primary stuff, so it's quite fun to see it with more sort of obscure colours to it.
Yeah, it's lovely too when you have them set against the dark background.
Yeah. Actually, you're absolutely right. Yeah, against the dark background, they give quite another freaky experience. Really cool.
So then we got sort of Patrick O'Sutherland. There's these sort of. MDF sort of painted sort of architectural structures.
Yeah, they're really cool.
The images he sent me, those sort of are all from his studio, and he had sort of paint splattered up all the walls, and so I had to do an awful lot of photoshopping to get these images.
Oh, fascinating! Oh, that's quite cool. You photoshopped it out very, very neatly, actually.
Yeah, so this is actually his living room that I put a white wall in the background and stuff.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. I'll be quite interested to see what the original picture's like as well.
I'll show you at some point. So.
Yeah. That's really funky.
So So tried to clear all the screw holes off his walls and make them as white as possible. So.
That's so funny. That would have been harder because you got the grass, haven't you?
I decided, this was just even though it could be his garden, I decided this will be a sculpture park, and so
yeah.
Oh no, yeah. So, but no, it's wonderful seeing sort of it set against those natural elements.
Absolutely, you should have sort of superimposed a Barbara Hepworth sculpture in the background, just as part of the sculpture park experience.
And then finally we have sort of Casper Pinchas, who does these sort of wonderful pieces with typewriters.
Oh yeah. Oh, these are mad, aren't they? Yeah.
They're amazing. So this piece, I saw this in the flesh last year,
Yeah.
and so he'd run a map of the world through a photocopier sort of hundreds of times, turning it into sort of a bas relief print, and
That's
so you
really
can sort of
weird.
just about make out sort of the shapes of all the different countries, and he then sort of mounted them all together to create this sort of just black sort of a print of the world, but it's actually sort of extremely detailed. And
really weird idea. Actually. It looks quite cool. What's the thing where he's crossed out the text? Has he crossed it out? The middle one.
That could be a CV that he's then sort of gone over and over and over.
Oh, okay. Interesting, because when I was interviewing Simon Strather, we were talking a lot about destruction and creation, and the sort of relationship they have, how close they are a lot of the time. Most of this guy's things, he's almost created something out of destroying something else, hasn't he?
Yep. But so it's amazing. It's also, I've seen him quite a few of his other works, and how he can sort of get something beautiful out of something so simplistic.
Yeah, simplistic and destructive. It's quite intriguing, isn't it?
At one point, he was rolling dice across a photocopier at the same pace as the scanner.
Oh, really?
And so it would capture the roll, and he would have this ghostly movement between. So.
That's really cool. That's a really cool idea. Nice.
And then, so he also did one of the window pieces in France. So this was his.
Okay, that's nice.
Sort of the window display. Which I think that's sort of a mirrored lake and some sort of old sort of castle potentially nearby this French town.
That's really cool. Oh, it's a really cool exhibition, actually. I really like it.
It's great to be able to revisit it with sort of fresh eyes and thoughts for lockdown, and also great to have it back online again. So
it's cool.
Hopefully when people see this, they can check it out for themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll put the link in the info at the bottom of the interview on YouTube.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So
it's cool.
So okay, so I've got a couple more slides for us to chat about.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah. So here we've got future projects.
Yeah.
And so for the last 2 years at the Cello Factory, they've joined partners with the London group to create in the dark exhibitions. And so they completely black out the galleries. And then everyone has to create an artwork related around darkness.
How bizarre! That sounds really cool.
Yeah, so the first year everyone had lots of light pieces. Even though one person had a light box, it was didn't have the right what's it called?
Bulb or something.
No, it's a. So had a light box that didn't have the right amp or something, and so whenever it was turned on, it would light up the whole gallery and completely.
That's quite cool.
Yeah, and so then last year the title of the show was In the Dark, Even Darker, and I think they refused for there to be so many light pieces. And then I think this year the idea is just to have 2 pieces, and so members of the London group have either been invited to create a piece that can be projected or to create a piece that can be projected onto. And then all the pieces that are going to be projected onto will become one artwork.
Intriguing.
And I think with the idea of social distancing, every single piece has got to be able to be posted to the gallery. And
that sounds really cool, actually. Sounds really cool idea.
And then after that, next year we have your lockdown exhibition at the Cello Factory.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, based on these interviews. So literally, hopefully everybody we've interviewed, pretty much everybody so far, has signed up for the exhibition, which will be online first, and then will exist hopefully towards the end of January.
Yep. But it's really exciting. So it's great to hear that you're putting all the artworks online too, and it's not too long that will go live.
Yeah, no, not too long at all. Slightly frightening, but anyway.
I know we all work well under a deadline. So. And yeah, then so after that, so I'm co-creating a model maquette exhibition with Juliet Losk.
Nice.
And so the idea is I all sort of reflect sort of models and maquettes from sort of theatre through to fine art.
Okay.
So yeah, there's quite a few varied works. Sort of the focus of the show will be mainly on artist practices.
Okay.
This is my first mock-up for the exhibition poster, and so Juliet won the John Ruskin Prize last year with this huge installation, and so she's replicating something along those lines, but having it sort of inspired by sort of the beams and structure of the Cello Factory.
That sounds really cool.
So this is her maquette here in the poster, and I don't know, you can see on sort of the top left corner is the mezzanine, and
oh, of course, I really like that. The maquette is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, they're stunning, and I know to imagine this is just the size of a cardboard box at the minute, but in a sort of 2-3 months' time, you'll be walking in and around it. Sort of.
That's really good.
Nearly finished the background, which is sort of 3.5 meters by 3 meters, and it looks like she's having to paint it so up the top of a ladder at some points, and so.
Oh, so it's really cool. It looks really exciting, and you should show those maquettes in as well, because the maquettes would be quite interesting against the.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Sort of. I know, yeah. But I've been contacting lots of artists to see sort of whether they would be interested in showing sort of the maquettes alongside their works. Or some have come back saying that they destroy the maquettes, and
really?
so they never, will never want to see it sort of connected to the artworks, and so.
What a shame.
Yeah. Well, again, so I guess. They are willing to maybe show a maquette that hasn't been created yet, and so it still adds to the mystery.
Intriguing, really intriguing.
And even as I met a lady who makes models for the West End.
Oh yeah.
And so she's planning a theatre production with a mechanical life-size elephant.
Cool.
And so I guess sort of like 4 or 5 people climb inside, and you have to work out the mechanisms of sort of how this elephant will move across the stage.
That's so cool.
But then, for this exhibition, I think, the elephant's going to be the size of a maquette box, and so don't have to worry too much.
About it trampling through the exhibition, destroying all the things.
Well, I'm sure Juliet wouldn't be impressed. So.
No, exactly, no.
And so then, my idea for this exhibition is to make a small timber expanding painting.
Nice.
So something like we'd seen earlier, but literally to only be sort of 1 meter by 1 meter or so. Okay. Which is it's going to be a challenge for me, but sort of I think in some aspects it actually sort of could work out better having it all made out of one material. But and so that's my major project for the next few months.
Quite interesting to do a smaller expanding painting that you could almost hang somewhere without having to put each piece together. So it would almost be like a finished structure.
That would be ideal, but I think I'm still going to have it as however many small little bits that I'm going to have to put together each time for the minute.
Yeah.
But maybe it would be nice to have some hidden wires or something. So,
exactly. That'd be quite cool, I think.
Yeah, but I have considered just like maybe mounting it onto some kind of board or something, but then that takes away a bit of the magic. I think it's quite nice having it sort of just on the wall.
You'd have to, in a way, be able to try and hide the board or the wires or things, wouldn't you? They'd have to.
Exactly, yeah. So maybe, hopefully one day. So,
yeah. No, it'd be really cool.
Then my final piece to show you for looking for other sort of future projects. And so, for another London Group exhibition. So this morning I sort of filled out the application form.
Okay.
And so the exhibition is going to take place in Devon, sort of in 2021.
Okay.
And it's called In Plain Sight.
Okay.
And the idea is that so each of the artists have to create a new artwork that has something sort of hidden. Something that sort of forces the viewer to study the piece to then sort of find out sort of what this hidden element is.
I didn't know you were going to give me a quiz at the end of our interview. so is there something in there I should be seeing?
To an extent. So sort of I'll point it out and say.
No, give me a moment. Give me a moment. It's not like So it's not like a cloud or something like that, or a...
No, like it's not nearly that. Like, so this is just a piece that I thought was relevant. It's not that clever. So
there's not like a hidden dog inside it or something.
No, it's not. No.
No.
Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just thinking sort of how, I know, with this push and pull between foreground and backgrounds, the structure is quite camouflaged.
Oh, it is.
And then as it moves across the screen, down in this bottom corner here, you have the hidden smaller bits of structure, which are the same colours as the background. And so that's the hidden element that you'd have to sort of look and study the piece for a while to sort of notice that, I think.
It's really, really cool, actually, because I didn't notice it, but now I've seen it, you can see it quite easily.
Yep, yeah. I am tempted maybe sort of on these little sort of triangles here to make them a little bit more bluer, so there's more of a gradient.
No, I think
but then
perfect.
You know, that would take away from the mystery of it.
Yeah. The tricky thing with doing stuff like that, isn't it, is then you suddenly think to yourself, I mean, I don't know if you do, but then you suddenly think to yourself, oh, I should do a whole painting with that kind of idea and see what happens. I mean,
I'm sure it'll be an interesting show. Sort of, there probably will be the odd hidden devil and sort of.
Yeah. So do you think each painting you make leads you on to another one? Do you think it's like an ongoing march?
To an extent, sort of. I find sort of some new element that I want to try, and I know, sort of each painting sort of connects, and sort of you'll probably find that sort of 2 or 3 in a row will follow a certain pattern, and then after that I'll move on to something else. So I mean, you'll be impressed with some of my most recent pieces. I've actually sort of dared to use a few primary colours.
Oh, really?
And I've been enjoying it. So,
reckless stuff. Right, I think we should begin to think of rounding it up. So I'm going to quickly look up and see if I can find my quote from Milton for you, which is slightly obscure. But is there anything else you wanted to say to sort of?
No. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah. So Alex, I was telling you about this quote from Milton, which is about the one I'm thinking of, which I can't actually find. Is where the devil. What's the devil doing? I think the devil is either leaping out of heaven into hell. Anyway, for some reason, those kind of weird Milton quote things make me think of your paintings. So we're going to go for this one, which is slightly different. But tell me if it sums up ideas of your painting. So, into this wild abyss, the womb of nature and perhaps her grave, of neither sea nor shore nor air nor fire, but all of these and their pregnant causes mixed, confusedly, and which thus must ever fight, unless the Almighty Maker them ordain his dark materials to create more worlds. Into this wild abyss the wary fiend stood on the brink of hell and looked a while, pondering his voyage, for no narrow frith he had to cross.
Wow. That's a brilliant sort of... It definitely captures some possible interpretations, but I don't think my work's that scary.
I love it though. It's got a sort of vibe of creation and space and flying through space and flying through the universe, and it's really cool.
There's definitely some dark elements.
Dark and sort of I don't find it in a it's sort of dark in a kind of revelationary positive fashion. But
I sort of again, sort of going back to the sublime, sort of that's meant to be very sort of scary, but then also sort of the Victorians used it for beauty of landscapes and so on.
Exactly. Interesting, isn't it? Right, we better go and leave it there, which is sad because I could talk all day about other things. But anyway, it was absolutely lovely to chat, Alex, and fingers crossed.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, and looking forward to meeting in the flesh again soon when we are less down.
Fingers crossed it's not too long.
Fingers crossed it's not too long and more shows can happen in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, nice one. Okay.
We'll always find a way. So take care, Rob.
Absolutely. Cheers, Alex. Bye.
Bumbuckler.